happy to be here, doesn't it? Another round of applause for Pastor Stephen Brody. Why isn't that man in Congress representing Texas? Representing Texas. We got work to do. We got work to do. And yes, listen to all the great talk show hosts. My name is John David Wells. If you listen, my kid will go to college. Thank you. Let me introduce our next guest. He is associated with something called Game Changers. Give them a big round of applause, by the way. They do great work.
Excuse me. I'm going to sit down.
Breaking the mental chains of progressivism through information, education, and activation. Time for a little bit of all three. Ladies and gentlemen, Eugene Ralph. Good evening.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
You know, the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law establishing religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that was something that the founders were concerned about because it's the first thing they put in the First Amendment.
Yeah.
I think that when we consider people telling us about what is the separation of church and state and what's not, we need to consider that. You know, this is an indication of where we are today.
Yes.
I talk to people all the time and they tell me this is about a woman's right to choose and all this other kind of foolishness. But most of us should know better than that by now.
That's right.
Eugene.
My friends, this is about freedom. Freedom for us to exercise our faith. Freedom for us to worship in the way that God places on our hearts. My friends, this is a freedom of conscience.
That's right. That's right.
This freedom, it must be protected. This is not an option. Unfortunately, people today don't seem to understand that.
They don't.
They seem to think this is an optional thing. And we can think about this and we can debate this. But no, my friends, this must be protected. Because without the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of association,
We can't hear you.
we have no freedom in this country.
That's right.
Amen.
Tell it.
All we have to do is take a brief look at history and those who came before us, in those nations that in some ways are still under oppression today. Over in the European countries, in the Soviet Union. Oh, they don't like to call it that anymore. But we should recognize that with Putin and people like that in charge, the communists still run Russia.
That's right. That's right.
There's a need for people to recognize the time that we're in. Pastor Broden alluded to it. And we have to recognize that, my friends. We talk about that to people, we try to get them to wake up and they think, well, we're off the mark. You know, we're talking crazy stuff. But all they have to do is open their eyes and they can see we're in a serious, serious time right now. Eternal vigilance is the price of freedom.
Amen.
Eternal vigilance is something that we have to all participate in. We have to stress it to our friends, stress it to our family members. What does that mean? That means that when I wake up in the morning, after I fall down on my knees and I get up and I walk on the earth, that I'm aware of my surroundings in more than just the normal ways. My ears are in tune to what's going on. I'm hearing things that's not being said. I'm reading between the lines in order that I can express these things to people who need to understand and seem like they can. Now I realize that all of us are busy, and that's the excuse we get all the time, right? I don't have time. Well, you know what? You better find it. You better find it quick.
Amen.
Because the deal is, if you don't make time right now, you'll have plenty of time later. The deal is, when you get that time, you won't be free anymore.
That's right.
There are those who in the past came against the foundations of this country, and they're still doing it. There have been people who have been against the foundation of this country since the inception of it.
Amen.
And it hasn't gone away. And it's important for all of us to understand that mindset of those people who would take America down, who would destroy what we consider to be so valuable, what we take for granted. We have to help people understand the need to stand firm. So my friends, the time to stand is now.
Amen.
All of you out here are demonstrating that. This is the time to stand. Stand now and push back. Push back against those who would use political correctness to silence free speech.
Amen.
Push back against those who would take away any of our rights guaranteed in the Constitution.
That's right.
Stand firm in your convictions. Let me explain to you right quickly. There's a difference between convictions and preference. Preference is something that I decide that it's okay here and now, sometimes here, sometimes then. But a conviction is something that's down in my core. A conviction is something that I cannot live because that's the way I am. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
A conviction is what drives you. People say Barack Obama doesn't have a core. I beg to differ. He has a core. He has a core that's 180 degrees out of phase with the one that we have.
That's right.
So my friends, I tell you, as you go forward, speak boldly. Speak the truth. Articulate your message. Make sure people understand what you're saying. Break it down for them. If you have a college education, that's okay. Break it down to 5th grade level. That way we make sure everybody understands. It's important. No, you think it's a joke. No, it's important that we make sure that everybody understands. All the way down to the 5th grade level. Why? Because we have to consider the young ones coming behind us. Occupy Wall Street, many of those people are indoctrinated, my friends. Well, you know what? It's time for us to do some indoctrination. Indoctrinate your own kids.
That's right.
Oh yeah, I know I probably said something gonna get me on the news. Look, indoctrinate your own kids.
Amen.
That's right.
You have a responsibility. You understand the word of God. The word of God says, train them up in the way that they should go. And when they grow old, they won't depart from it. What does that mean? They may go astray, but they'll find their way back. Why?
Amen.
Because you showed them the way when it was important. Thank you.
Amen.
Eugene Ralph from Game Changer. One more thing left to do, but I do want to make a personal statement just very quickly. Okay, regardless of what.